So I don't really know how to explain this, but Matilda might be missing. We don't know where she went missing, and we've got the rangers on the case. We're currently waiting for them to get back to us to see if she's been found, but
that's the situation.
yeah, we've been talking to the rangers for like a good hour, filling out lots of forms, giving them lots of information, and they are trying to find her. But currently Matilda is lost somewhere in Denali National Park. When you arrive in Denali National Park, the first thing that you do is you check in with the rangers. In order to get your backcountry permit, you need to explain to them what it is you plan on doing. You have to commit to camping in certain zones every night so that they can vaguely track which part of the park you're in. And you have to watch a brief safety video explaining how to deal with bears and just generally how to survive in the park. The way Denali National Park is set up is there is a park road that runs right into the park. It goes about 90 miles. Originally, we'd intended to cycle the whole road, but once we got to Denali, we realized that we actually had only about a 2-day weather window where we were going to be getting sunshine, and it was likely to be heavy rain afterwards going forward. There is the option of taking a bus from the start of the park where the ranger office is until about mile 43, a place called East Fork. In the end, we decided to put our bikes onto a bus rather than cycling the first 43 miles of the route. The reason for that was just that we really wanted to see Denali clearly, and we decided that by doing that we would maximize our time spent in the more beautiful part of the park further in. So we loaded our bikes onto a couple of buses and we headed out to mile 43 at East Fork, where we were going to start cycling in the park. For the last few years, the park road has actually only been drivable up to that point, up to mile 43, because a huge landslide called the Pretty Rocks landslide took out a huge chunk of the road just past mile 43, and it's completely impassable. There is, however, a possible detour that goes around the ruined bit of road, which goes about 12 kilometers up a gravel bar, involves a bunch of river crossings, and then it brings you out back onto the park road on the other side. That detour is only possible on foot or with a bicycle, so once you do get around that section, you have the park almost entirely to yourself. So these guys are just crossing another river, and it is just ludicrously beautiful out here right now. The colours on the mountains, unbelievable. What a place. Without this big landslide, this place would be much easier to access. You wouldn't have to do this and there'd be more tourists. As it is, we've got a little easy detour, a few rivers to cross, and apart from the rivers, it's all rideable. And then we've got the entire place to ourselves. What a place.
Come on, Great Britain. You can do it. Alright. Yay. There you go. Fuck yeah. Oh yay. Fuck yay. Awesome. Can you do it again in slow motion? I could help you, but sorry, I'm too busy filming. And that's it. That's us. It's almost 12, midnight. It is absolutely stunning.
That was actually pretty easy, and now we have the whole park almost to ourselves.
And the bears.
Us and the bears.
It was stunning. It was beautiful. The sunset was absolutely endless. I think the colors, like this kind of pinkish, reddish colors, were lasting for hours and hours.
One of the most beautiful sunsets I ever had in my life, because it was like 2 p.m. with my friend in the middle of Denali National Park. It's just a dream, you know, it's completely crazy.
It was a funny vibe because we were all like kind of tired, it was getting late. You couldn't see clearly if there was any animals around. So everyone was just shouting and screaming and singing. So that was cool. That was a very fun vibe. That was a very fun atmosphere.
So we made it to the first camp spot just in time for a spectacular sunset. And we've been joking about how we've been looking for the pub for the last few hours. What these guys don't know is that I've secretly stashed a 6-pack of IPAs in my bags. So I'm looking forward to seeing their reaction when I present them with a few beers.
So that was the first night. It was actually at the end probably the most beautiful night I've ever had on a bicycle from far. Like one of my best venues for sure. That was special. That was special for many reasons, because it was wild, because it was just the three of us, because we were very energized for some reason. The colors, the mountains, the wilderness around. Yeah, a bit of exhaustion, a bit of everything really. But that was good. That was good. Absolutely loved it.
So this is the first full day here in Denali National Park. As you can see, the weather is spectacular, and we can see Denali. The mountain is out, and the clouds are clearing as we speak. So yeah, it's going to be a hell of a day.
I grew up in the mountains, so it was really important for me to just see the highest mountain of North America. I'm in Alaska because I've already dreamed about this kind of landscape, and I was looking for this kind of landscape, and I found it here, really.
There's barely anyone, there's barely any cars, there's barely any noise, and it's also this constant tension you have every corner to bump into a bear or something, like much more than a highway, even if that can happen. But yeah, it's just this sense of like adventure, which was a little bit more exciting. Yeah, so I love that section.
We were so lucky with the weather. It was absolutely breathtaking in the park. We had such a good view of Denali. Actually, the majority of people that go to Denali National Park never get to see Denali because it's so often shrouded in clouds. So it was such a privilege being able to ride there and have it just towering above us in the distance. We'd originally planned to ride the park road to the end and then come back, but when we reached the spot where we were planning on camping for the night, a place called Isleson, we just had such an outrageously good view of Denali, and it was just so beautiful, and we were so content just being there. There were also some pretty dark clouds down towards the end of the road where we would have been heading. So in the end, we just decided to stay there, and we just spent the afternoon looking at the mountains and reading books and chilling out. And it was absolutely incredible, that spot. So I think we were all really happy with the decision just to stay put and relax.
It was enough for us. We didn't need to do more and more and more. It was just enough to stay all or three with books and such a beautiful landscape just in front of us.
It was absolutely stunning. You could have just like rolled around 360 degrees. It was just, yeah, absolutely speechless everywhere. This is not like this every day, so I remember that moment for sure.
So as expected, the weather turned pretty harsh the next day, and we had all agreed that we'd be heading back to the entrance to the park, riding back the way we'd come down the park road to East Fork. So Matilda had got up super early the next day. She was already packing her bike up while I was still having breakfast, and she told me that she wanted to go ahead to start riding early so that we would then catch her up. She'd been quite tired and a little bit slow the day before, so I think she just wanted to get a bit of a head start, and the idea was we'd catch her up pretty quickly once we got going. So we packed up, we hit the road, and as we started getting close to the landslide, I started getting a little bit concerned that we hadn't yet caught her up. I made it out to East Fork, and I talked to a couple of people that said they'd been stationed there for a few hours, and they told me that they hadn't seen anybody on a bike for the entire time that they'd been there, and there was no way that she could have got there any sooner. That was when I really started to worry, because she disappeared.
How? Like, she was ahead of us and she disappeared. But it's just one road. Like, technically, there's no way you could disappear like that. So even if she would have been eaten by a bear, like, there would have been some left over on the ground. Or the bike, at least. You wouldn't have touched the bike. So it was like super random. She literally disappeared as she would have been kidnapped.
She was out there. She was lost in Denali. There's a lot of wild animals in Denali, and I know how quickly things can turn bad. She was out there by herself, evidently lost, probably scared.
The challenge was like trying to stay rational and take good decisions as well. And I think like jumping on the first bus and heading straight to the ranger office was probably the best decision, because there's not much we could have done by waiting there. There was no point, there was no service, anything. So I think we took the right decision.
There are so many ways in which she could have got herself killed, and knowing that was terrifying. We were in a way responsible for her. She'd been with us and then she'd gone missing. Oh God, the stress. Yeah, that was not a fun few hours.
Okay, so yesterday I left the road a little bit too early, so I took the wrong valley and I get lost for like 6 hours. I fell in a river. I was fighting with the tree, with myself, with my bike, with the river, with the rocks, with everything. My leg is completely blue. Good for me, I just found the bus after like 8 hours of biking. I didn't eat, I didn't drink, nothing. I was like, okay, I just want to go back to the bus. And that's it. Like the worst day of my travel for now, I think. And I can't wait to can laugh about it, but it's too early now.
Main thing is you're okay.
Yeah, I'm alive.
It really goes to show that you have to focus and you've got to be on your toes, because things can go so bad so quickly in the wilderness. It was a real eye-opener, but just thank God she was okay.
Everything can go bad very quickly, can turn into custard very quickly. So it was just a relief to be able to see her in the evening, actually. In one piece, and she was a bit broken. She's lost a few things in the river. She was a bit bruisey as well, but she's in one piece, and she was kind of smiley, so that's all right.
I think I was so tired and I was not really concentrated about what I was doing, you know. I was so close to die, really. I just took like too much risk for my life, and I just touched my limits, and finally it was a good experience, really. I was feeling I want to survive. It was really the first time I felt that.